What's going on, everyone? I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. I'm not going to use an intro or shill my eBay account because I want to talk about this because this is pretty serious. I'm just going to get right into it. When I was a young man, when I was 24 years old, I was at the World Trade Center after the fact from 9/12 to 9/16, 2001, right on top of the pile, or Ground Zero as it's become known as. And that's of record. That's a fact. Um, I had a case with what's called the James Androka Victims Compensation Fund, which I successfully closed last year. This year, in the beginning of this year, a major part of my case against New York State was settled. And I've been using those funds to help my family back in New York. And a lot of my debts have been wiped out or paid off. And, of course, as you would have it, if you guys know who Louis Rossman is, he's an advocate for the right to repair. New York State came after him once he left to Texas and tried to get him for back taxes and all sorts of crap. They did the same thing to me, where, thank God, at least I had the financial firepower that I can go right to my bank and fill out a cashier's check and pay the thing off in one swift stroke and done. That's what New York does, man. They punish you relentlessly. It's just like they're people. They're not civilized. They're not forgiving. They don't care. All they care about is being the bucket of crabs. That's what they are. If you understand the analogy of what the bucket of crabs are, that's what they are. And I used to say, one of these days, I guarantee there's going to be like 10 9/11s because New York has clearly forgot about what it is to be patriotic and what it is to love their country like they once did back in 2001. And in a way, I kind of got my wish because you look at the anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas supporters that are completely taking over the streets of New York City. So in a way, I was kind of right. New York City is literally sinking into the ocean, which is a fact, And you see everything else that's going on there. Like, crime is out of control. Businesses are leaving. And now it's finding its way down here to where I live. I lost a fruitful career in union construction. I put in 13 years. So I was vested for enough time where now I receive a modest pension and a lot of other resources, which I'm not going to get into. But suffice it to say, my career ended because of certain health issues. And that's a matter of fact, and that's of record as well. And I still have one more case I have to fight in New York. But a lot of things have happened over the years where I thought people were my friend, and they really weren't. I've been stabbed in the back. I've been lied to, betrayed, hurt. People have lied about me, slandered me, made up all sorts of garbage and stuff because I decided to stand up for myself for what I thought was right. I was relentlessly bullied here on YouTube because I did have previous channels here on YouTube. Even though this is not a political channel, there are some sprinkles of my beliefs throughout this channel and maybe some hints towards my ideology that I support. Here, for example, if I pan the camera over, there's my brand new Nike Vapor Elite Harrison Butker jersey. And already I've gotten hell for this jersey because I support the guy. I support what he said. Just like a lot of other things. We're seeing things get banned left and right. Now, one thing I do support getting banned are things like this. Adidas banned this particular number 4. And it looks like what it looks like. But I wanted to see with my own 2 eyes before it got banned as to why Adidas would ban this from the German national team jerseys. And it looks like what it does look like. So I support the fact that something like this got banned. I'll do a full-fledged video in the future about what this is. But it looks like what it looks like if you get the reference. So kudos for Adidas for banning the number 4. And they did redesign it, which I do have the redesign versions of those just to have them for comparison. But, certain ideologues that believe in certain things that I do not support attack Gina Carano, because she, did beep bop boop in her I guess it was her Twitter profile or whatever it was, and they came after her. They're coming after Harrison Butker. Anybody that supports traditionalism, that supports our nation, that supports our history, that supports our what we're all about. I'm one of those people who believes in our traditions and our values and our ethics and our morals, and I've been relentlessly attacked myself, and violently in some cases, not just here on the internet, but in the real world. When you go out there, it's like, man, people have become so violent. It's okay for certain people to have certain stickers on their vehicle, but if I do it, my car tires were slashed years ago because I did exactly what the other side did. But of course, they can get away with committing all sorts of violence and crap. But if I do it, look out. I've been a victim of so much crap over the years that it's wore me down. And I've been in the thick of a lot of fights. I've been not like physical fights, but like just these political fights and bantering over stuff here on social media, and people came and they're still attacking me to this day, dragging me through the mud. What matters is what's in the court. But at least this time I have the financial firepower. Should anyone slander or libel my character to go after them. But recently, it's all built up in me because of a lot of things that have happened over the years where people who I thought were my friend were not my friends at all. People that called me their brother were not my brother at all. People that I thought would stand by my side abandoned me when I needed them the most. I would feed people, give people money, buy them drinks, drive them around, and do all sorts of stuff. But I never asked for anything in return. But it would be nice, a nice little gesture of reciprocity, which is a word that's lost today. Reciprocity, folks. Never forget that word. And because I choose not to believe in certain ideologies, I'm one of those people that's been relentlessly attacked again and again and again. And it's worn me out. It's really worn me out. And there are a lot of other things in my personal life I'm not going to get into because it's a tragedy. In particular, with one or two instances, at least I'm happy that my family, in the form of my mother and my brother and my father, I still yet to reconcile with my sister, but at least the 4 out of 5 of us have found some sort of common ground now, because my father's very sick. He's in a facility right now where, he hates it there, but he is a sick man. And unfortunately, we've had to make a collective decision to keep him there because he needs to recover and he doesn't like it. It breaks my heart, but that's how it is, But with the resources I have, I've been able to send him things. When it comes to my brother and my mother, in particular my brother, I've been able to help him financially because my little niece is also very ill. And I know my mother is going through a lot of stuff, so I've sent her money. I've really tried to reciprocate or try to help in some way, some form. Then at least, thankfully, I now have the resources where I can do that. But a lot of things have built up in me, and especially when I walk outside my door, that a lot of things that you see on television have now basically found their way down here. And I live in Charlotte. And Charlotte is a blue city. It is deep blue, and it's getting worse. And a lot of things have found its way here. And because of the kind of things that I support, especially, like I said, this Harrison Butker jersey, I'm already receiving flack because I've been wearing it outside. Which is potentially what started everything this weekend in the first place. But all of this stuff has finally worn me out. The politics, everywhere you go into Target, it's in your face. You turn on a TV, it's in your face. There are people where I live that are constantly talking about it. I don't want to get into the politics, man. I just want to sit down and relax. And, even though I might have sprinkles of it here on the channel, in all honesty, I've just become so fed up and annoyed with a lot of things that have happened in my personal life that everything has built up where it's like, it's just, I've built up so much frustration in me that, unfortunately, I've started to drink more than usual. And, it has now got to a point where, if I'm sitting there and just enjoying some music, and people here, for the most part, at least in this part of where I live, are just like me. No matter what race and color you are, most people are like myself. There's a few exceptions, but when people are literally fighting over music or space or something you're wearing, it's like enough. And I find myself constantly getting into these situations where it's like, I can't even go outside. These people can cover their cars in rainbows and all this stuff, but God forbid I put an American flag on my car, for example. What do you think is going to happen? That, on top of a lot of things that have happened over the years to me and against me with people that I thought were my friends, people that I thought were on my side, people that I deeply cared about that didn't care about me in the same way, that threw me under the bus and dragged me. Along with one or two personal issues I'm not going to bring up in this video because it's already heartbreaking enough that, especially if you watch the news, any of you, lightly, you could see what's happening in my former home in New York. I just mentioned I was at the World Trade Center in 2001, from the 12th to the 16th, after the fact, right on the pile. And I see people engaging in anti-Semitic behavior, supporting Hamas and terrorism. It hurts me to see that that's my home, my former home. It breaks my heart, man. I worry deeply about my family and a few friends that I have left up there. I feel helpless to do anything because of what's being pushed. What's being pushed in the schools, what's being pushed on our kids, and people trying to force me to change what I believe in. I'm not going to stop believing in what I believe in. I'll take 15 beatings. I'll spend 1,000 years in jail before I cave. I'm not going to change what I believe in. Unless I decide to change what I believe in, I will support what I support. I will stand up for what I believe in, and that's that. But lately, it's become such a violent world, even here. Like, there was a shooting over at the local Walmart, not recently. It's never happened before. Where I used to live in North Charlotte, I mean, there's shootings there all the time now. 2 weeks after I left my old apartment to come down here, the apartment right above my former one, the door was kicked in. And there was a home invasion. Thank God I wasn't there. And I warned the management. Nobody wanted to listen. And of course, I was accused of all sorts of stuff. But then, look what happened. Whoops, I was right again. I used to joke around about New York having 15 9/11s. In a way, it kind of happened. Whoops. How can people support anti-Semitism in New York City, of all places? And New York is literally sinking to the ocean. But when all in all is said and done, I become so fed up with it all. Because now it's here, where I live. And it's driven me to a point where I'm so frustrated and so helpless to do anything about it. My alcohol consumption has got really bad lately. It's not just the fact that I deal with depression, which I've been dealing with almost my entire adult life. Not just because I deal with 9/11 related post-traumatic stress. And that's another thing that really disappoints me about New Yorkers, modern New Yorkers, or even New Yorkers that were around in 2001. Let me tell you, I dare any of these people to go into a war zone and take a look Now, I'm sure some of you were in the military or police officers or EMTs. Take a look at what can be done to the human body. I'm trying not to be graphic because I want to keep this channel family friendly, but people just, they take everything for granted, man. And people like me that believe in this country, believe in our values and ethics and morals are under assault constantly. And I tried to stand up for myself yet again. But unfortunately, because my frustration has built up to such a point where now a lot of my anger rests at the bottom of a beer can or beer bottle, I've let myself become weak, and I've started really, really drinking quite a bit lately. And I'm really embarrassed and ashamed at the fact that I allowed myself to reach that point. I mean, as of today, I have an appointment with a PhD this Friday, and I have another doctor's appointment coming up, I believe, in about a week and a half. And I'm trying to get myself enrolled to the 9/11 World Trade Center Medical Monitoring Program through Sedgwick to find outpatient help. I mean, I do have other resources available to me that I can use, but I'm looking to see if the program can pay for it. Otherwise, if I have to do it through my other health coverages that I got, then so be it. But I've allowed myself to kind of like fall apart that way. And what I went through this weekend and what I saw with my own two eyes where I was, let me tell you, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you get locked up in a jail, let me tell you, your humanity is stripped from you. Your dignity is stripped from you. You're not a person anymore. Everything is taken from you. All you are is just a body. You lose your right to be a human being. I'm beginning to understand why certain ideologues want to defund the police, though I wish that didn't happen, but shame on my local police for allowing the mob to attack one man. But but in my own defense, well, I don't even know if I'm defending myself. I've allowed myself to become weak by drinking my problems away. But being where I was this weekend, let me tell you, it was such an eye-opening experience. I wouldn't even wish that on my worst enemy. What I experienced to be put in a space no bigger than your bathroom, and then being told when to eat, when to stand up, being woken up 5, 6, 7 times in a day. You can't sleep properly. You're literally sleeping on like a workout mat with a thick blanket, and your sink is your toilet. But clearly, I've allowed myself to get weak emotionally, and I need to do something about it. And that's exactly what I plan on doing in the next couple of weeks. I just have to get on the ball and do what's necessary. But I've already taken certain steps. Like I said, I got a doctor's appointment with a PhD this Friday. And I do have another doctor's appointment coming up, I believe, in a week and a half after that. Hopefully the medical monitoring program through Sedgwick, through the 9/11 health program, will be able to set me up. But I have to get my doctor to put in a reference for me, which most likely that's probably the route I'm going to take. Otherwise, I'm going to have my other medical coverage set it up. But one way or the other, I've kind of failed myself in that way, that I've allowed all of this junk to fester after all these years. And for the simple fact that, like, I can't even go outside and wear something like this without being harassed and harangued. I mean, I have every right to believe what I want to believe in. I have every right to think the way I think. For example, if I put this on my car, what do you think is going to happen? But these other people can put rainbow stickers and all sorts of garbage on their cars. But if I put this one single sticker on my car, guess what will happen? It'll be vandalized like my old car was. Everything is so lopsided and one-sided that I frankly have had enough with all of it. That's why I don't want this channel to be outright political. I want to focus on stuff like what you see here. And I have a lot of sports cards coming. My eBay store is successful. I actually sold a couple slabs. I got one guy that paid, or one customer, I should say, that paid for one of the slabs. I'm still waiting for the other customers to pay for their other merchandise. But I've just reached this point of frustration where I find myself at the bottom of a beer can, and I don't like it. I don't like what it's doing to me. I don't like what's building up inside me. It's not cool at all. As I get older, I'm now 47 years old. I'm not handling it like I was, say, like if I was in my 20s or 30s. I don't even know if that's actually a logical thought. Like, can you actually handle anything like that when you're younger or older? I leave that up to you to decide. But I find myself allowing myself to allow certain things to get to me. A lot of things that have built up over the years because of all the nonsense that I've had to deal with, and the people who have betrayed me and lied to me and lied about me and let me down and hurt me, and continue down this path. Plus, what I see in my former home, I feel very worried about my mother and my father. It's very difficult to sort through all of it. But all I know is that I've become weaker as a result emotionally, that I've now reached this point where it's like, if I allow my judgment to be clouded due to, intoxication, like I'm not a felon. I never did anything inappropriate. Thank God. Oh, imagine if I had a weapon or something like that with this arrest that happened. I can only imagine what these people would say. Oh, look, it's a white guy, and he was. I can just imagine what would have happened. I would have turned out to be like the next Kyle Rittenhouse, I'm sure. But it's worn me out. I'm worn out by the whole thing. I'm worn out by these personal attacks that have been lodged against me. I'm sick and tired of like certain things that just are not being fixed in my personal life. At least I was able to find some sort of reconciliation with my immediate family, with my mother and my brother and my father. At least I got that going for me. But there are other people that refuse to even listen to anything I have to say, and it's devastating as time goes on. It's just, but I've allowed myself to really, really fall apart. That's the problem with social media. Even being a content creator here on YouTube, you think everything is fine and dandy, and a lot of rich superstars, these bourgeois movie stars and musicians and stuff like that. Robin Williams is probably the best example of that. Like, you can have everything in the world and still be miserable because you're just not emotionally happy. And he would find content going into a comic book store, buying collectibles and toys. I mean, if I pan over to my shelf right there, I mean, I don't have a massive collection of Transformers and stuff like that, but, it's pretty modest for what it is. But you can have all the things in the world and have all the stuff in the world and you're still not happy. It's because of this goofy world we live in where I just don't feel like I'm part of it. I feel like an outsider. I don't want to support certain ideologies. I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't be forced to. I shouldn't be told who to love, how to talk, who I should love, who I shouldn't love, how to talk, how to walk, what I should and shouldn't wear, what I should and shouldn't eat, what kind of car I should and shouldn't drive. I've had enough of it, man. And now it's like, I have a genuine fear for my safety and my personal space because, like, I don't know what's going to happen next. But hiding behind the shield of the illusion of feeling good, it's actually to stop from feeling bad. And that's what has happened to me with allowing myself to dive into the bottle. So I am going to be seeking help for that. I don't know if any of you have been through that. I'm man enough to at least admit that. Some people are cowards. Some people hide behind their cameras and their cell phones and their keyboards. But I'm man enough to at least admit it and say it publicly. And this has been building up over many years to the point where, like, I've simply had enough of feeling like this. But this world that I live in, it's dangerous, it's violent, it's disgusting, it's vindictive, it's morally bankrupt. I thought by moving here after all this time I would feel better as far as moving down south, and it's found its way here now. And I'll be honest, like, it terrifies me. I'm genuinely terrified of what's to come. And what I see happening on TV with riots. Look at France, for example. Look what's happening in France. And imagine if that man with the orange skin happens to win in November. God help us all, what this country is going to turn into. But I've had enough of having to be a part of all of that nonsense and being told what to think, who to love, how to talk, how to walk, what to eat, what to listen to, how to speak, what to wear. It's enough. I've had enough. And if I let my emotions get out of control like it did this weekend because of a bunch of people that either didn't like the clothing I was wearing or the music I was listening to, it can only get worse, or it can only repeat itself. But I can never allow myself to get weak like that ever again. And I think it takes courage to step up to the plate and say, hey, man, I got this thing going on with me. I'm not happy. I'm not feeling good. I feel out of place. I feel like something's off. And if I don't do something about it, who knows what's going to happen. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to watch this video and listen to this video. I'm sure many of you are afraid to speak your mind because you'll be attacked relentlessly online or doxxed or canceled or threatened or any of that stuff. I have over 200 pages of printouts that I had to use because of what people did to me recently. That I had to fight it off. I had to get a lawyer to fight it off. And thank God I had all those printouts to show that, no, I'm the victim here. And somebody's using my identity to attack somebody. But, it's because of things like that that have really, I think, weakened me emotionally. I've allowed a lot of things to get to me over the years. But as time has gone on and what I see in this world and what I see people becoming and what they're turning into and what people have done to me, my so-called brothers and friends that I thought I had back in New York, they were never my friends or my brothers. I couldn't care less. All they care about is their free movie tickets and free baseball and football tickets and free T-shirts and, being gluttonous and everything else. But anyway, I have a lot of things I have to figure out in a very short amount of time. So, but I am going forward with what I need to do with myself and get my head out of my own ass and take care of myself and make sure never to repeat what happened recently. Because if I allow my emotions to be clouded by bad decision making because of drinking myself to a point where, I'm trying to stop myself from feeling bad instead of having a good time to feel good, well, that's the trap, isn't it? But having to deal with certain kinds of people out there who would come after you because of something like this and other things. This world is completely upside down, backwards, and inside out, and it's not fair. And I've had enough. and I need to be mentally strong. Take care, everyone. God bless and stay safe.